Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. Today, we are talking about a topic that everyone is always asking me about, and that is AI, buyer behavior, and the biggest myths that we see in home building. Now, AI is everywhere, as we know, and a lot of the information that I see online is repetitive, unclear, or really just surface level. So, I'm bringing in a guest today that actually works with AI every day, understands it, and is going to talk to us about how people are actually using it, what builders need in terms of tools and clarity, and really just cutting through the noise and understanding what actually matters in terms of AI. So I'm really excited about this episode. Please stick around and let's get into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. All right, everybody. So I am here with Harrison Montgomery today. He is the CEO at Prism Interactive. And when I was thinking about this episode for AI, I was like, he has to be the person that I want to talk to because I heard you speak a little bit ago, and it was just so informative. And I was like, this is what every builder needs to hear. So Harrison, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so thrilled to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here as well.
Awesome. I would love to jump in with a little bit of background about you. So tell us about your role there at Prism and your background, what led you there.
Yeah, so I am the Chief Executive Officer of Prism Interactive. What led me here really was working in technology in the new home construction industry, and I decided to go on my own and start Prism with a couple of other co-founders and kind of focus more onto the furniture retailer side of technology, as that was the next step to what's you buy a home, then you got to design a home. So that kind of led me into this. So it's been a fun journey, and 18 months ago that we started this thing and just going strong.
18 months. Time goes really fast, doesn't it? Like I've Shared Drive has been around for 6 years, and I'm like, how is that possible? It seems like it was just yesterday.
I know. That's like my daughter. And I'm like, you were just this little tiny thing and now you're walking.
I know. Kids are even worse. Yeah. I have a 10-year-old and she's like trying to convince me right now that she needs a cell phone. And I'm making her be like, you can have a cell phone, but you need to convince me why does this matter to me? And so it's like a daily conversation. She's trying to figure out ways. And I'm just like, this is insane. You should be a little toddler still.
She's going to make a great salesperson one day then.
Hopefully, we're trying. So we talked before this episode and we had a really great discussion. And I feel like AI is one of those things that like obviously everyone's talking about, but I've also seen everyone is now an expert in it as well, and everyone wants to talk about it. It was really interesting in our conversation prior because you had a different perspective about using AI because you've actually built AI platforms. So break down a little bit for me, like your perspective on AI. It's a big question to start out.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember like the kind of craze in AR back in the day, which was Pokemon Go.
Mhm.
It's the same situation and same like situation as like when everything went to the cloud. Is AI has now become a marketing term and not an actual product term. And I think you're seeing that really because OpenAI and ChatGPT democratized a technology that was useful for enterprise clients and said, hey, let's open this up to the public and really market it. Sam Altman's done a fantastic job of getting AI to the forefront of everybody's mind, is that now you're talking about AI, you're thinking about AI, which means boards of companies are now pressuring companies to say, hey, you need to be using AI. How are you doing AI? What are you implementing AI in your workplace? Vendors themselves are saying, okay, how do I project that we are an AI company? And so you have so much noise in the actual industry that it's hard to decipher what is actually AI and what is just something that is layered on top of another AI.
Or just another application in general. I feel like a lot of people are like bolting it on now and saying, oh, yeah, no, now we're an AI company. That happened with one of our social media. Like we use a social media management system and it just
Mhm.
schedules posts for our clients. And now they're an AI powered system. And I was like, no, you're really not. You just added like one feature that uses AI to write a caption for you, and it's not even very good. So I'm like, I see that everywhere all the time.
Yeah, and you'll see it on Twitter. It's, oh, I built this company in a day. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, you just built a chat wrapper around OpenAI or Gemini or Claude. Anybody can do that. You're not an AI company. You're just a chatbot company that just connects into those AIs.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a really hard for people to identify sometimes if you're not like in this space. I'm sure I've fallen for that before. Like they're so convincing. And if you don't understand the technology behind it, I think it's really easy to just believe the marketing that you're seeing.
Yeah, oh yeah. And the fact that the barrier to entry right now has collapsed to get into AI. If you think about it, salespeople, when they're being pitched all these AI things, they're just focused on selling things. Like for home builders, they're focused on selling homes. Home builders are focused on building homes. They're not necessarily, unless they are a large team that has a technology group specifically designed with machine learning experts and data scientists, they're just taking everything as truth, which I think can be a little bit murky, especially when if you're a vendor that has just done like a wrapper around something or doesn't actually have an AI, you just plopped it in there. If you don't know what you're looking for, it's just hard to make that decision, especially when you have a board breathing down your neck saying, okay, I'm a home builder. I have to implement AI. This sounds good. Let's do it.
That's an interesting thing too. Like, why do you feel like companies and boards are doing that? They're like, we have to have AI right now. Like, why do you think that's a thing?
I think it just goes back to you see the valuations of a lot of these AI companies like OpenAI getting like the raises, Cursor, you see all
Mhm.
these companies that are AI based getting bought for billions and even almost hundreds of billions of dollars valuation. It's okay, there's this giant technology out there that can make our company so valuable. How do we use it? And I think that's the disconnect between a lot of top teams and a lot of like people who are actually using it is, okay, you want us to execute, you want us to implement it, but what are we actually trying to solve? I'll give a
Mhm.
great use cases. I was actually consulting with a network like a year ago, a TV network, and they were showing me, hey, I built this AI, which they didn't really build. They just copied someone's tutorial on Twitter, and it was to segment players. And I said, this is great. This is really cool. What is the use case? Outside of you have someone telling you we have to have AI in the broadcast technology, it's you just segmented players. You can get that same data from the play-by-play and the same data from your replay operators who are putting that metadata in the clip. There is nothing about what you've just done that is going to bring you value that you can't already have. It might make things faster. It might take a human out of the element, but then you're adding inference costs. So are you really making any sort of gain there on what your actual use case? So that's, I think, the biggest disconnect is, okay, you have so many boards and so many executives saying, okay, force it into your product. How do you do that if you don't know what you are actually trying to solve?
I want to be clear too. We're going to talk a lot about vendors that are offering AI implementations and companies that are doing that. And this is not to bash them, but I do think they're just trying to react to the
Yeah, you
world,
got to
right?
react.
Like they're just trying to react to what they know that their customers want, which I have empathy for. That's what we're all doing as business owners. But I think that there are some tools and things that consumers and home builders specifically need to know when they start seeing this so that they can actually evaluate, like you said, like, how is this going to actually help me and not just check a box? Oh, yeah, we've done this. I think it's just important to talk through what our goal is with this episode because AI is a super powerful tool, and I do think, like, more businesses should be using it. It's just how are you going to do that, and what are your goals?
Yeah.
So, along that line, we talked about before different vendors and people just adding AI to their pitch decks and being like, "Yeah, here, now I do AI." So, what are some kind of red flags that you've seen with different companies doing that?
I would say some of the biggest red flags is when they're just focusing on the term AI. It's almost like AI has become a substitute and not substance. So if I were to look at a pitch deck and I'm getting this sales deck and it's okay, it's very AI focused, it's very AI heavy. My question would be like, what does the product actually do? what is the return? And then another thing would be like, okay, if I take your AI out and swap it with a drop down, am I going to get the same value? If the answer is yes, then the likelihood that company is an AI company is going to drop. It doesn't mean that company can't provide value as a drop down. It just means that, okay, let's start to reframe what we're actually trying to solve here. What's the problem as a builder that you're looking for? Okay, does this vendor solve that problem? Does it use AI? Does it use automation? What's the actual benefit that I'm getting here? And it goes back to you look at what's your end goal? Because if you're going to be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into this company, you have to make sure that you're getting an ROI and not just something that, if OpenAI suddenly shuts their doors to end consumers, or Gemini shuts their door to end consumers, or Claude shuts their door to end consumers, and that vendor doesn't have API access, what happens to the product that you just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and maybe even locked yourself into a 5-year deal if they can't deliver on that because now those gates are closed from the main providers?
I think when we see that as business owners and home builders, we see, oh, this is an AI solution. There's like a disproportionate value added to it. And in some cases, and like you said, if it's something that we could have done before AI, just keep that in mind. And number two, like we're putting a lot of values as home builders to implement AI into our buying processes, into our businesses, whatever. But think about your buyer that's going to buy this home. Do they care that is an AI thing rather than a drop down? Make sure that it's actually adding value to them as well and not just checking your little box of saying, yes, I've implemented AI.
Yeah. And the great thing about AI is it is so fantastic at doing repetitive tasks. And that's
Mhm.
almost like where you're going to find the biggest value for that AI, whether it's internally or even if you do want to externally show it to your customers, which is still
Yeah.
buying a home is the biggest decision that people will ever make in their life. It's anywhere from $200,000 all the way up to millions of dollars, depending on what you're buying. Is that AI going to actually help sell the vision, or is AI going to take the repetitive task of saying, okay, customer A has visited this plan this many times. Let's send him a message. Let's get him on the phone and let's understand why he's looking at that plan or why they're looking in this location. And now I can start making a human connection with that buyer and understand what they're looking for. And so now I can position my sales pitch to be more effective rather than, hey, here's an agent, talk to it online. It's going to convert everything for you. It's just not going to happen when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. And then you got to think of that's great. What if this agent does say this AI agent closes them? Well, then you got to get into financing. You got to get into so much other things. You got to get into so many contracts. It's just home buying is such a complicated process as it
Mhm.
is. Use AI where it's going to be most effective, which is those repetitive tasks, and then bring in the human element.
People still want to talk to people and connect with people, especially in a buying process for sure. So when you talk about like repetitive tasks, and that's where AI can build value and not replace us, because that's another big fear is, oh my God, AI is going to replace us. So what are some good ways, examples of like ways that AI can be positioned as like a support tool for those kind of tasks?
I would say lead follow-up, drafting, spec sheet generation, anything scheduling, anything like internal knowledge retrieval. Those are probably the biggest ones. That's where you're going to get your best efficiency gains. I think where it gets really valuable is when it understands something domain specific. So not just answering a question, but understanding like what the actual question is. And that's going to require a lot of computer vision, spatial reasoning, custom model work, which again, builders aren't going to have the time to do that custom model work or the efficient or the resources. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars of building your own custom model. And that might be something where if you have a vendor who is telling you they have custom model work, ask them how they train it. How do they do their reinforcement learning? What is their model based off of? Where did you get the data for it? And then if they're hesitant on those answers, maybe they're using Gemini or OpenAI's API as their model, which if that's the case, a builder could implement that without needing a vendor. All they need to do is sign up for an account, enterprise account, that you get an API access, and now you can set it up to do everything you need it to do without having that external vendor.
So when what I guess what happens on the other side? You've implemented an AI that's like not adding value. So what happens then, and how can you identify that when you're like basically your team is stop thinking or your buyers stop thinking and relying solely on the AI? What are some things that builders should keep in mind?
I would say probably the biggest thing I would do to evaluate how your AI success has been on implementation is just, okay, and I feel like I'm going to be like a just sounding horn for it. All goes back to what problem are you trying to solve?
Yeah.
But it goes back to are like if it's an internal tool for sales, like to connect your CRMs for scheduling, lead outreach, and stuff like that. What is the effectiveness of your lead outreach? Are you getting higher open rates? Are you getting response rates? Are you getting the same effort that you would get for someone who does spend an extra 15 minutes to write an email because it's more personalized? If the answer is no, then you kind of have to go back to the ROI of, okay, I implemented this sales tool. It didn't actually help me. How do I correct the rightness? Is it simply something that can be integrated in the AI? The AIs can always be tweaked, but I like to say you have to almost know how to talk to the computer in order for the computer to give you the results that you want, which that's a whole nother process. If you have to do tons of prompt engineering or have your users do tons of prompt engineering to get the results that you want them to have, that's probably another big red flag for, shoot, we didn't implement this correctly, or we need to go back and tweak some things. Because you can always prompt inject to different models. It's just a matter of, okay, do I want my prompt to be more generated where I need to get this asset? And if it is, then you're constantly tweaking prompt engineering, which then does that take you away from your actual sales process, or are you now just becoming dead weight?
There's a lot to think about and a lot, but I feel like a lot of that can also be just done through communication with your team and just observing. And I think if you do that pre-work, you've vetted your vendors and you've vetted what you're doing and you have those goals in mind, it's going to become evident pretty quickly whether or not that's going to work out or not, just like any other process that we implement. So in a way, it's like you really have to take away the like pressure of, oh, this is AI, it's going to change our entire life, and think about it just like any other technology implementation or any other process implementation that you've done.
Yeah. And I'll say this, because I said this at the IBS talk, is AI has been around for decades. I
Mhm.
don't know if people remember the IBM Watson commercials. That was AI. Tesla's computer vision driving, self-driving, that's AI. Even Google Maps telling you what that's all, there's all AI going on in the background. It just has never been marketed as AI until Sam Altman came along and said, hey, look, we got ChatGPT. It's this AI you can talk to. And like LLMs had been used in enterprise applications before that. It's just when you're getting inundated with AI, it's hard to sift through the noise and see what's actually being pitched.
People just had no idea. They like ChatGPT from just a normal person's perspective, me. It just popped up one day and it was like, oh my gosh, now everything's different. I was like, what are you even saying? That is a good thing to keep in mind. This is actually not that new for the world of technology and for larger companies. And I think we've been, like you said, like we've really been using it secretly for a
Yeah.
really long time. We just didn't
Yeah.
know.
You just haven't noticed. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
interesting thing too about that is I remember 2 or so years ago, like McKinsey did this giant study of people actually interacting with AI. They're like, "Oh, I'm less likely to buy, 80% less likely to buy when I know I'm interacting with an AI." And I think this kind of goes back to your, oh, AI is going to replace us as well, especially in the home building industry. I don't think good salespeople will ever go anywhere because you can't replace a relationship driven conversation. And
Yeah.
AI is terrible at reading emotional nuance. So it's not going to know when to push or to back off. It's not going to know what you're actually looking for. It's going to know, okay, this person's looking for a 4 bedroom room or a 4 bedroom house. this many square feet in this location. Here's what your options are. It might be able to give you some pushes here or there, but it's not going to know, okay, this person really wants to know in 5 years that this was a good investment. A salesperson will. And that's really where they shine, and that's where they should shine.
I think you can only get replaced by AI if you let AI replace you. If you turn off your brain and let it do all of your thinking, and you're going to turn into a very generic, not very remarkable person at your job, then sure, they're going to be like, we don't need you anymore. But like AI should, I believe, should be used to like to enhance what you do and to take away the things that aren't actually using your best skills, automating things like you had said. And so the people who are really worried about that, it's no, like you have to use the tool. It's just like any other tool. If you use it, then you'll be better. And especially for salespeople, I don't think there's ever going to be a time where we just don't need salespeople anymore. That's insane to me
Yeah.
to think that. That's just never going to happen.
Yeah. And same with like marketers. I don't remember who it was on LinkedIn I saw talk about AI replacing marketers. And it's if you're a bad marketer, yes. Or a bad creative, yes. But like
Yeah.
the inputs of an AI come like if someone create like if Hans Zimmer, for example, was using Google's new music thing, he already knows how to compose music because he's an artist. So he can direct this AI to create music that represents him because he knows what he's looking for and he knows how to create the job. Your 15-year-old kid, probably not. You're probably going to get something that's okay, this is you. I Love is Blind. I don't know if you watch it, but in the past couple seasons, if you listen to the background music, I'm pretty sure they're using AI to generate those just quick background music stuff, except for when they have the budget to do big songs, because it's like, okay, these lyrics match well too much what the scene is actually about. You clearly just took in the transcript and put it into an AI and got this clip.
That's so funny. Now I'm gonna have to go back and listen to all the music. It's funny, my husband does that. He always talks about, oh, the score is so good. And I'm like, I'm here for the vibes and the feelings. I'm not listening to the background song, but he really hones in on that. So that's funny. I'll have to ask him if he has noticed that. And you're so right. Like I want to go back to something you said too about marketing, because I think when Canva came out, there were a lot of designers that were like, oh my gosh, like everyone's a designer now. We're going to be out of a job. No, now I just was doing interviews for a marketing person and having Canva design skills where you're not just using the templates and you're actually designing something now is a skill that people are putting on their resumes, right? They're like, I
Mhm.
can use this tool to actually do my job rather than let it replace me. And AI is the same thing. If you let it write all of your content and you let it design all of your ads and you let it do that, you're going to look like everybody else. And I think that's what we've started seeing is all these businesses look the same now and all this marketing looks the same and there's just errors everywhere. And these are people that are just doing very basic prompts into Chat GPT and trying to use that as their marketer. So I feel that it makes us human marketers so much more valuable because at a certain time, everyone's going to realize, oh, this is actually hurting us instead of helping us. Yeah, it's so accessible, but it's not actually doing what we need it to do.
Oh yeah, and like even an example on that is so my wife is an attorney, and
Mhm.
you see it in the attorney of attorneys are going to get replaced by AI. And then you see the actual use case. My wife gets stuff sent to her from her GMs of, hey, I generated this with ChatGPT. Can you take a look at it? And it's just a complete compliance issue in the sense of if you actually read they could be in uncompliant on different like insurance things or stuff like that. And that's where the human in the loop of an actual attorney can go in and review it and say, no, don't do this, don't do this. This is how I would rewrite it. And you see it, there was a case in New York, I think. Two attorneys used it for research and they did no human in the loop review and they got disbarred because ChatGPT generated tons of fake cases. And that's just something where it's if you're going to use it for research, just make sure you're double checking it because they're going to give their sources. And if you are in a high stakes job like that where you can submit something and get disbarred, you better damn know that AI provided correct information because yes, a lot of these LLMs took training data from Reddit, which is
Mhm.
not the most credible source on the internet. A lot of people
Yeah.
go there and post. things that shouldn't be there. Yes, there are academic papers that are also pulled in, but that's where things get muddy. It might have pulled
Mhm.
something from Reddit that was a user joke of saying something and saying, hey, yeah, here's this case. So
Yeah.
you always need that human in the loop from, I would say, probably 90% of AI use. Sure, there's
Mhm.
probably something where you don't need, where if it's just scheduling your calendar. If it makes a mistake, who
Yeah.
cares? But
And I think that there's so many AI is being used as a therapist now and being used like it's as like a dietitian. And there's so many people out there that are like, oh, this is all you have to do, just use AI. And it is cool. There are some uses of it where I'm like, oh, I never would have thought of that or whatever. But definitely you need to audit yourself. And I think of it as the wild west of the internet. And like we were out here with LimeWire, like downloading stuff like in the early 2000s, 90s. I'm like, how did we live through that? I feel like that's where we are with AI in a lot of ways. Like it's sort of the wild west. So just
mhm.
keeping your head about you, not jumping in too deeply, and remembering that basically there's just an algorithm. You're just
Yeah,
talking to an algorithm. So, it's not actually doing any thinking. It doesn't actually have any experience. And just remembering that like your expertise and what you've learned through your whole role and your whole career is still the most valuable thing that you have. So don't allow it to replace you. That's the
yeah,
whole,
exactly. Use it as a support tool. That's the best
yeah.
way to use it.
So let's talk about some things that you are actually excited about, like new use cases that you feel like are really cool, up and coming. What do you got?
There's so many cool things out there. I'll give one example that Zillow just launched, which is their Gaussian splatting. It's only for exteriors right now, but it's a really cool way to use AI. It's another perspective that you can get out there and fly around at exterior, even though I'm pretty sure all it took was a drone footage and then created these point clouds. So I would think that's probably one of the things. I actually saw, was it Google released recently? It's like a land analysis. So they took all their 3D spatial reasoning for all the maps, and it will look at a plot of land and understand what's been built around it and give you what's the ROI that's going to be on this actual land plot that you're buying. I think that's one of the coolest things that I've actually seen out there. So many things in computer vision have come along. There's so much research going on specifically around computer vision in 3D that it wouldn't surprise me if in a couple of years we have like computer vision that truly understands a home builder's like CAD files and can take it to 3D. I mean, I've seen some people demo, oh, we have CAD to 3D, and it's a lot of automation, but we're getting so close to actual true high-powered computer vision models that can understand those finite details, which is really exciting because there's so much use cases for using that in different things to understand like documents or even video, images. This is probably an invasion of privacy, but people nowadays have the like hot jar or screen recording of all your website visits. They can't tie it to you, but I'm sure there's going to be an AI that takes that data and then gives you reasoning of what they were actually looking for. Were they a buyer? Were they not a buyer? Those type of things.
Oh yeah. It's funny, there are like those heat maps, and I think Microsoft Clarity does that where you can see actual people like on your website, these recordings. And we use that and people are like, "Oh my gosh, is this legal? Like how can we like see this?" And it's yeah, I mean that stuff has already been out there for a while. It's like how is that now going to be like made bigger? Like how are we going to now be able to get even more insights from that kind of stuff?
And I think now that AIs are getting closer to understanding physical space, like that's going to be so huge for home builders because that is a physical space that they're literally building. And so if you can give it the physical space before it's built and letting your customers understand flow, what's your actual room going to look like? What's living in this area going to do versus living in this area? Like now you're giving a lot more confidence to the home buyer. And that's something you can use to like generate descriptions for the floor plan or generate descriptions for the community. Those types of things will really go a long way in marketing because
Mhm.
I will say I think a lot of home builders probably they're all marketing the same product. It's a home.
Oh my
It's
gosh, no.
different. It's four walls and a window and a door. Materials are probably the same materials across. It's probably the same drywall. It's probably the same studs. Different builders have different finishes, which are going to make it more luxury versus more starter version. But at the end of the day, that's what a home is. It's four walls and a window and a door where you live. You got to be able to separate yourself, and it can't just be on a luxury price point because not everyone's going to be buying for luxury.
Yes. Oh, I've started talking about that more and more because I totally agree. And we're all out here in marketing trying to make our home sound different than the next one. And it's basically the same. We've got differences in the floor plan or like difference in size, but those are not really great differentiators. Like, why would someone pick you? In any AI that kind of impacts the buyer journey, I think is interesting. And I've seen some new ones popping up here and there, but I still feel like a lot of them are in the beginning stages. So it's like a keep your eye on this situation right now. But yeah, I think anything meaningful in the buyer journey is something to watch. Have you seen anything else in that kind of area?
I've seen a visualization tool that's not even meant for real estate that where I'm like, if they ever entered the rendering industry, they would just completely take over. It's an incredible model that I've seen them do, but I think it's just, I think what they're getting their most benefit out is just putting an API into and letting everybody do whatever they want with it. Because it really closes the visualization gap, which is you can't look at a 2D floor plan and a selection sheet and know what the heck you're going to buy. You can get a visual idea in your head, but you're not going to be able to see it with confidence. But then that's half of the buyer journey is being able to visualize yourself in it. The other half is, okay, is this the right home for me? Is this the right location for me? Is this going to be a good house to build? Now I have to do all the reviews of this builder and this floor plan itself. I'm doing a lot of research. So honestly, on the buyer side, I would probably recommend them hopping on ChatGPT or Gemini once they have narrowed down their decision and saying, okay, hey, help me out with research. Help me out. What's the pain points? What's the best points? And this isn't an AI thing, but I think the best marketing tool a home builder could do, there's always these rate drive downs, is they should cover the cost of if a buyer wants to bring in a third party inspector. Because I will
Mhm.
say this, when you buy a home, and we just bought a new home and that was built in 2012. And sure, the previous owners didn't really do things well, didn't do the upkeep well, but when we got it inspected, there were a lot of things that were from the original builder. And it's hard for builders to manage that large of a team that are doing multiple different homes. And if you're a project manager for one home, it's already hard enough. You can't be a project manager for 15 homes and do the super inspection. So just say, hey, I think it's like $500 to get a third party inspector. Just say, let the builder pick it and say, we'll cover it. Because at the end of the day, you see these nightmare stories on TikTok of, oh, my home got mold because the AC wasn't working upstairs or something like that. It's just like those are small things that are going to keep you out of legal trouble down the line.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. One thing too, I think we've seen now that AI ChatGPT has been out there now, we're starting to see how people are talking to it differently than they will talk to humans. And so I think builders can look at that as well. Even these chat applications and things like that that people are putting on their websites, it's maybe just a wraparound chat GPT, but we're able to get some data from that we haven't seen before. And we've seen, and this is in the health space, but people will ask questions to AI that they would not want to say to a person. It might be embarrassing, or it just might be something that they're not quite sure about yet. They don't want to look dumb. But getting that information and saying, oh, okay, they were really worried about this aspect. Now, in the sales calls, your salespeople can bring that up and address these concerns without calling them out. Just be like, oh, hey, and it makes them feel like they're really understood. So that's like a hack, I feel like, for a lot of salespeople they can use to really emotionally connect with a buyer and using things that we didn't have access to before. We might not have
Oh,
ever
yeah.
known.
Oh, yeah. And that's a great way to, when you look at a buyer's needs, there's two needs. There's latent and there's the unspoken needs. And the buyer will tell a salesperson, and they'll tell anybody, hey, I'm looking for X and X. but they'll tell an AI in their questions, just like you said, I'm looking for a 5 bedroom home because I have a daughter on the way and I'm looking to really get her a nice backyard that she can play around with and build a future there, because they don't want to tell that to a salesperson, just
Yeah.
because they feel like the salesperson probably doesn't care, even though
Mhm.
that's the farthest from the truth is the salespeople do care about their
Yeah.
buyers. And so getting that information from the chat and getting, you can even get the output of what the chat responded with so that you already have that context when you are talking to them to say, hey, I think this would be a great location for you to raise a family because look, it's X distance away to the nearest airport. It's X distance away to the nearest amusement stuff. And this lot is a great lot for a big backyard. Look, you can put a playground over here. You can have a swing set over here. It even allows room for a future pool if you want this. So there's so many things that those questions can evoke that emotion, and really now the salesperson can come in and really build that emotional connection with the buyer so that they're having a positive experience with their brand, so that when it comes time to make a decision, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember, okay, I had a really great time with the salesperson because they actually walked me through what I'm looking for and not just a plan.
It's you're now using the AI to enhance what you're doing. I think, unfortunately, as salespeople, there's a stigma sometimes with some people, and they're like, "Well, I give them too much. They're just going to try to sell me something." Or they're going to try to sell me something that I don't need, and they're going to use that information against me and somehow. And I don't think, I guess the old car salesmen of the past lives or whatever, like maybe did that, but like I don't think home building salespeople are doing that. But we still have this like idea. Some people have that idea in their head. And so using a tool like this allows us to mitigate some of that and get around that. Like you can show that you really understand your product and the benefits and the buyer without having to be invasive or ask all of those things that they're not going to tell you. So I think that's a really great way for people to enhance their skills.
Oh yeah. And the great thing for salespeople now is our generation, we really don't come to salespeople to do the research for us. By the time we've come into an office, we know that you have this 4 bedroom plan that I've already looked at for. We know the selections that I want. It's now, okay, I need to feel comfortable with who I'm buying from and understanding that this is actually something I want. And so the salesperson, and that's especially like used car salesmen back in the day, is, hey, check out this feature, check out this feature. It's like, no, most people nowadays have done their research prior. And
Yeah.
so now you're really allowing yourself to shine
Mhm.
because you're the one that's going to be the one that they're buying from. And they want to be confident that they're buying from someone who is in it for them and not
Mhm.
just in it for, "Oh, I just sold this guy on this feature."
Yeah.
They probably knew about that feature already.
That's the mindset shift that I think people need to have now too. Like we need to recognize that people are going to use AI to search and they are going to find out a bunch of those features. That's what AI knows about us. That's what it's going to be helping people decide what those differentiators are. So for salespeople, we can shift our conversations from talking about some of that. And I think, especially for like millennials, myself included, I don't like going and hearing that from people. Like I really don't want to talk to the used salesperson or the used car salesperson. I really don't want to talk to them. I really just, there's nothing that makes me want to reach out to someone that's just going to be trying to push information on me. I want to go, I want to validate what I already know. I want to have a happy like situation for me and see things in person. That's my main goal. And
Mhm.
I did this when I was looking for a home. I didn't want the salespeople to know that I was coming because I didn't want them to have this pre-script. And just keeping in mind that like some of your buyers are going to have that, I think can really help. So doing some research, you can pretend like you're a buyer on AI, figure out what it's going to probably be saying, those kind of things. It's just a mindset thing.
Yeah. And on that point is I've worked with a couple different salespeople in my life. I've had
Mhm.
one who was like, I will stick to a script. And that was the
Yep.
furthest thing I wanted them to do. But I don't know if Bridget Poirier, but she was one of the most fantastic salesperson because it wasn't, I have to get to a script. It was, no, I need to understand who you are, why you're looking at us, And then we can formulate a conversation around that. It wasn't like, oh, hey, here's my 6 talking points that I have to hit because it's on my script. And so that's one
Yes.
thing I always tell like our current salespeople is if you're stuck to a script, something has gone wrong where you don't understand our product. And that's on me. And I have to figure out why. So
Yeah.
same thing with home building sales. Don't go in with a script. You can have an idea of the person coming in and what they're looking at, but you don't have to hit certain talking points every time. And I think that's a lot of junior salespeople just because they're new to the sales. That's what they've heard. This is the best thing to do. The sales script is almost like their whoopee. Your whoopie's doing you a lot of problems because you really should just be having a conversation and just getting to know people and what they're looking for.
The good news is here in the home building industry, we have a lot of really amazing sales trainers. A lot of them have been on my podcast, so we'll go look at those episodes. But I feel like this conversation, it's just important to understand what's out there for our buyers and not ignoring that AI is going to be a thing, but not using it as well to to replace what we're actually good at. And that's that emotional connection. I definitely recommend everybody keep up with what AI is doing. But I think more importantly, we need to really understand our buyer and make smarter decisions, whether that's with AI, without it, or about AI in general.
Absolutely. And if you're a builder out there or anybody out there needs a quick tech audit for what you're vetting, hit me up. I will gladly give you my unbiased opinions on what it is you're being sold.
So if someone wanted to do that, Harrison, where would they find you?
Easiest way to find me is LinkedIn. Just search Harrison Montgomery. I'm probably one of little few ones, but just find me, connect with me. I will gladly accept your message and talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming here and talking through all of this. I've really enjoyed this conversation. If you guys ever have a chance to hear Harrison speak too, he does really great presentations. I have had the pleasure of having that as well. So thank you again for joining us. I hope that everyone found it as impactful as I did.
Yeah, no, thank you again for having me. This was awesome.
This was really fun. So, everyone, thank you for being here. Please like this episode. It really helps me and it helps this message get out to more people. And I think this episode in specific would be great to share with your sales and marketing teams. So, hit that share button, get the link, send it on. I appreciate it. And I think your team will too. So, thank you for being here today. And we will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.